Opposites attract. Think about magnets. They have a polarity. They have a north pole and a south pole. When you put the two together, sometimes they'll repel each other. That's if the same pole is trying to touch. But if you get the north and the south, or the positive and the negative near each other, then clicks right in. They stick to one another. Opposites attract. We talk about that with partners sometimes. There might be one person who will choose someone who's very quiet and introspective because they appreciate that quality and they enjoy the peace they feel around them, while they themselves might be more outgoing and social. And they provide a sort of balance for the couple. So we talk about different things coming together to make something new, a new kind of creativity. Once when I was vacationing with my young children, we went to Quebec and drove up along the St. Lawrence Seaway, and partway up near the mouth of the Seaway where it joins the Atlantic Ocean, we took a trip on a smaller boat where the guide would take us out to show us the water, the life, and possibly see some whales. So we went out onto the boat, and sure enough, there were white beluga whales leaping in the water. There were 20-foot minke whales that we could see just under the water's surface who would come up near the boat to explore. And the guide told us there's so much life in these waters because of the fresh water flowing from the Great Lakes, meeting with the salt water coming from the Atlantic Ocean. And in the mixing of those waters was a bit of life from both the fresh and the salt water, and some kind of life forms that loved the mixed waters. And so where these two very different elements come together is abundant life. Well, that reminded me of what I've learned about the human brain. In a simplified fashion, I've been told that the right brain is, the right side of your brain is more intuitive. It sees the big picture, imaginative. And the left side of the brain, to simplify things, I've heard is more rational, logical, detail-oriented, numbers and facts. So one side without the other can't do a whole lot. If you have the big vision and you don't have the rational, logical way to put it together or to act on it, then it's just within you, and you can't do anything to affect the world. If you have just the details without the vision, then you're running around in circles, stuck in a rut, because you don't really know where you're going. But it's where the sides of your brain meet together that cause the creativity. Again, an example of two very different things coming together to create abundance. Now let's go back to that couple for a moment. One is outgoing, one is intuitive. They appreciate about one another what they themselves have in less abundance. But a few years down the line, sometimes we find that the person who's introverted and more intuitive and quiet finds the other person to be talking too much. It's too much stimulation. And the person who's outgoing finds that the other person just doesn't have much to say. So how do they solve that problem? You have two very different things coming together. The opportunity is abundance. But in order to have that abundance, they have to communicate like the right and left sides of the brain. They have to mix together. They have to communicate. They have to listen. And they need to be open to hear the gift that the other is bringing. Then, if they work that out creatively, they can have a new abundant life together. We're in a time that has been described as polarized, that we're moving farther and farther apart in different factions within our country, within the world. In order for us to come together, we need to practice what Jesus has called love your enemies. Jesus didn't say, stay with the people who agree with you, you'll feel better. Jesus said, anybody can do that, that's easy. Anybody can love those who love them. Anyone can love those who agree with one another. Jesus' challenge was love your enemies. Not just those who are mildly annoying, but those who you really can't stand. How do you love your enemy? Well, certainly, we need to turn to God. We need to turn to that higher wisdom within ourselves, around us, to the God who speaks words of healing, that we might be open to hearing one another, that we might see the gifts that the person we consider so hateful or so wrong, we can hear what beauty they might have within them or what pain they bring that makes them choose something that we think isn't helpful. If we don't know one another, how do we heal a polarized situation? Can we come together like that polarity of magnets? Can we hold on to one another, even those we don't like, even those we consider our enemies, so that we might create an abundant new world?